It's just over 40 years ago now that my wife Judy and I, with our oldest daughter then, Chandra, who was about a year and a half, started on our first trip to Africa to take an assignment in the country of Tanzania in East Africa. We had bought a used Volkswagen camper, the top with the top that lifts up, had outfitted a bit, shipped it to Europe, and wandered around Europe for some time, for about a month. It was our way down through Yugoslavia, back then a united country, that we stopped off briefly in the city of Dubrovnik and spent a bit of time there. And then as you go out of Dubrovnik, you go up this switchback road with, I think there was 23 switchbacks on a little paved road. When we got to the top of that hill, we were just heading off into the Yugoslavian countryside. This is back in the days when it was a communist country. And noticed an old lady in the field raking hay with an old wooden rake. And being a farmer at heart and curious, I stopped, ready to get out a bit anyway, and we got out and walked over to watch her raking her hay in the field. When she noticed us, she stopped, turned and started walking towards us, I assumed to greet us, and then all of a sudden she stopped, turned and walked the other direction, away from us. And I thought, that's curious, I wonder what's happening. Did we say something? Did we offend her? What's going on? She walked over to the edge of the field, bent over and picked up something and came walking back towards us. And as she came up to us, a big grin broke out on her very leathered old face, and she held out in her hand a little turtle. Obviously, she had remembered seeing that turtle earlier in the day, saw our daughter with us, and said, I know what would interest that child. Went over, found the turtle, and brought it over to show our daughter. And a picture that will always live in my memory is that old Yugoslavian lady holding my precious golden-haired daughter with a turtle in her hand, showing her the delights of nature in that setting. Several years later, we were working in Tanzania. I was responsible for developing a national maternal and child health program for the country, working out of the Ministry of Health and the government. And as part of that, I had the privilege of traveling around through Tanzania, countryside, visiting various schools and hospitals and teaching in various areas. On this particular trip, I had my family with me. Usually I didn't. By then we had another daughter, Brianna, who was just a baby. And we were still in our Volkswagen camper, enjoying ourselves. This particular trip, we were clear out in the middle of the country where the population was very sparse, hard to find people. And we ran out of daylight, as sometimes happens there, and it wasn't real safe to travel at night. So I said, Judy, let's just pull off the road here someplace. There's no one around anywhere. And we'll be fine, and we'll pop the top and have supper and go to bed and enjoy the night. So we did. We found a place where there's a few scrub trees. We pulled off the road back behind some trees and popped the top and had an enjoyable evening. Finally went to bed and had a restful night. About 5 o'clock in the morning, all of a sudden I heard a knock on the door. What in the world could that be? There's nobody out here. Who could possibly be here and what would they want? But there was a knock on the door of our camper. Well, in a Volkswagen camper, you can roll over in bed and open the door because it's not very big. So I did. I rolled over, opened the door and slid the door open, and here was a little old Tanzanian man with a cup of warm goat's milk in his hands. Obviously, during the night, he had heard our baby cry from wherever he was looking after his goats in the area, had come over and says they have a baby, they're going to want some milk, and had milked a goat and brought us his tin cup of precious goat's milk for our baby. I tell those stories to make a single point. People care regardless of the culture, regardless of the background, regardless of their circumstances. There's an inherent nature of human beings to want to reach out, particularly to children, and care for others. And many times when I face various issues here at Loma Linda, I think back on things like that because this population, this group of people here at Loma Linda, repeatedly demonstrate those kind of caring characteristics. And I'm so proud to be associated with an institution that I know one by one, each one of you indeed reach out to provide that kind of caring, that kind of compassion. Most of the time for people you don't know, have never met, but you care for them in that way. So on this special week, I want to thank you for that special event, that special caring attitude, that sense of being one with mankind, of reaching out and caring for each one around you. It is indeed what makes Loma Linda so special. We often hear the comments about the Loma Linda experience, made special by people like you who care in that special way. Thank you for being part of this institution.